Welcome to Across the Pond, a podcast for leaders in market research to help them grow their insight agencies, with Steve Henke and Paul Griffiths.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Season 2 of Across the Pond, a podcast for growing your insights agency. I am Steve Henke with Harpeth Marketing.
Hello, and welcome back from me too. I'm Paul Griffiths, and I'm from Client Advocates. And very excited about Season 2. Episode 1 is a doozy. We are going to be saying and talking about Steve and my experience of what end clients say they want from their research buyers, their research partners. We thought we'd start with a bang. So as ever, 20 minutes, as much as we can get squeezed into 20 minutes, it's going to be 20 minutes, Steve, because I haven't got the ambition to talk for any longer than that. You might, but I don't. Who wants to listen to us for more than 20 minutes in one go anyway? So, right, let's kick on. What end clients say they want. Now, Steve, I know part of the inspiration of this is that you've been interviewing end clients. I also do that as a matter of course, but do you want to kick off by just giving an overview of kind of some of the themes and some of the things that have been coming out from your interviews?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, I got lucky. I was asked by the Insights Association to host and moderate a couple of buyer panels over the past year. And afterwards, some of those participants were kind enough to give me a little of their time. So I interviewed them about, to your point, what they kind of want from their agency partners in terms of how they want to be sold to, how they want to be marketed to. So that's the sort of the angle that I'm approaching this from. I know you work with them every day. They're part of your client base. But I will give you some of the thoughts that sort of resonated across all of these folks, because there were some real consistent themes that I heard from these buyers.
Perfect.
And in this case, not all buyers are like this, but all of these were basically Fortune 500 companies. So
okay.
big firms who were buying lots of research. The one big theme, there was a lot of really good ideas, but the one big theme that came from all of them was stop with the generic sales pitches. Whether it's in a PowerPoint presentation or in an email, or if you run into them at a conference, stop it with the generic, we do this, and this. They don't care. What they care about is talk to me about a specific solution to a specific problem that I have. And so that the conversation means something to them. The generic stuff means nothing to them. So, we need to, as sellers, do a better job of researching our buyers ahead of time, of learning about them online, going to their LinkedIn profiles. And frankly, there are certain problems that are endemic in industries, right? That every firm of this type faces these kinds of industries. So at least approach them with those, as opposed to beating your chest and telling them everything that you do. That was sort of at the top of the list of all of the things that they did.
And that jives with my observations. So one of the things I do when I work with end clients is I'm asking them how much time do they spend on their vendor management, their partnering with clients and the like. And it's quite surprising for agencies to hear this, because, most market research and insight agencies, what their clients are doing and what their clients are thinking is kind of like 100% of their obsession. For end clients, they're thinking about their vendors 10% of the time max. The other part of the time, they're worrying about their stakeholders. They're worrying about all sorts of other manner of things. So in an instance where they are thinking about us so little, if you are coming to them with something that is generic or something that is not personalized and individual to them, then inevitably it's not going to cut through. It's not going to have any meaning or any resonance to a degree that they will take any notice of you.
Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting point, that they're only thinking about their vendors 10% of the time, if it's 10%.
10%.
So that means if you've got that little bit of a window, you better come with something really good for them.
Yes.
And two others, aside from not being generic, two other things that would fit into that window nicely is if you have something new, a new technology, a new methodology, some new processes, something really different, they're all open to it. They're looking for shiny new pennies. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy it, but they're looking to be the best at their jobs that they can be. So if you got something new, let me know about it. That's number one. Number two was they were all open to their partners recommending different ways to do things.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, if you've historically been doing this particular kind of thing with quant, maybe you come in and recommend some qual way to do it, and here's why. And they're open to new ideas. They're open to new products and technology. But that's how you get in the door, not with the generic message.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, and I love it. It's episode 1 of season 2, and I'm going to disagree with you, Steve, to a degree.
Yes, good.
But the reason I disagree with you, well, don't disagree with you, but I want to couch this in a lot of the challenge I find when I'm talking to agencies is they really feel this pressure to come up with something new. And the reality is, for a lot of research agencies, they don't have anything new. They're not particularly specifically innovative. And so their sense is, well, if I haven't got anything new, then I can't speak to them. And I would argue, I would be careful about becoming obsessed with the shiny new thing if you're an agency and you're looking to build relationships with clients, because I think it's difficult to do. I would almost prefer to say, if you've got something shiny new, tell them about it, but tell them and couch it in the terms of, this is how this is going to help you, not how clever are we. It's the number one. But secondly, if you don't have anything new, that's okay. Keep talking to them about their business issue. Some of the feedback I get from end clients is they talk of agencies and their partners and prospects talk to them a lot about what they do. This methodology, that approach, this new technology or tool. And actually what they think, they tell me, resonates more is if you talk about the business problem or the challenge or the issue and start to offer opinions and views and perspectives on what the answer to that might be, or have they thought about this, or in our experience we've seen this. And I think so it's great if you've got a new methodology or you've got a new whiz bang approach to something. Great, absolutely lever that, but don't talk about it in your own terms. Talk about it in how it creates impact for your client. But if you don't, talk consistently and in a really, really helpful way about your perspective on that business issue and how you are going to help them fix that business issue.
I think that's brilliant. I agree 1,000%. I think and we talk about this in the sales training workshop, is build a lot of your language with buyers around problem solving.
Yeah.
But the thing that agencies have to remember is that the buyers don't have research problems. To your point, they have business problems. So let's make sure we're talking about the right problems. But I think that's absolutely spot on, Paul. Because that goes back to the very first thing I said. Don't come to me with generic stuff. Talk to me about solving my problem. So I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So go on.
Ahead. Oh, your turn.
Okay. So the other thing that when I've been chatting to clients recently, as well as this sort of, the fact that they haven't got so much time, in terms of thinking about their vendors. The other thing is the risk approach and the risk associated with changing from an established vendor to a new one. And maybe it's all part of the same kind of cohesive story, but they are understandably at the moment risk adverse. And I think clients have become more risk adverse over the last couple of years, I think. And I think one of the things you have to do if you're a new client and you're existing client and you're trying to convince an end client to do something or to engage with you is to talk not only about the relevance of how you can help them fix their problem, but how you understand the risks associated with changing approach or changing methodology, and what you are going to do from your knowledge and experience to mitigate that. Because the impetus to change at the moment is really quite weak, I think. So that risk approach, I think, is really, you've got to address that in some way when you're talking to your clients.
Agreed. And let me give you a couple of thoughts from the interviews that I did on that, because yes, that's an issue, and risk, and why should I change? I've been working with this vendor for 3 years and they've been great. Yeah. Why should I change? Yeah. We don't have, in our world, 5-star ratings on Amazon. So we need some sort of...
Thank goodness. Yeah.
For marketing and sales vendors too.
Yeah.
buyers need some sort of proof that you can do what you say you can do. And so testimonials on your website, white papers that you've produced, every one of them to a man and woman said, we love case studies.
Yes.
So as you're building your arsenal of proof sources, case studies are at the top of that list. They want to see content on your website, blog posts, videos, et cetera, because that showcases your subject matter expertise, your thought leadership.
Yeah.
All of that matters. So be prepared to defend your position and prove to them that you can deliver on your promises ahead of time.
Yeah. No, that makes a huge amount of sense and absolutely jives with this sort of aversion to risk. Steve, in your interviews, did you come up with anything that was around how clients want to be engaged with outside of project work? Because one of the things that I pick up is that they say it's quite often the vendors that they use consistently are the ones that don't disappear.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to talk a little more about this when we get to one of our future topics on managing key accounts. Yeah, that is a big thing. I think there's this, they want somewhat frequent and relevant touch points between projects.
Yeah.
And that could be just you having a presence on LinkedIn so they see you occasionally and are reminded of you, that you, in the old days, we would say clip an article and send it to them, but send them links to resources that they can use. Pick up the phone and call them occasionally, not to talk about the next project, just to talk and say, how you doing? What's going on? It's been a couple of months. If you've got an established relationship with somebody, the way to keep that relationship is to keep that relationship and have those conversations and share those resources and be present. I believe, particularly as we talk about larger clients, but all clients in general, nothing deepens a relationship like in-person visits. So get out there, take them to coffee, take them to dinner, do a lunch and learn at their office, whatever it is. But yeah, those touch points, they do not want the buyer to disappear. And they also want access to more than just one person.
Okay.
So, you may be the lead person, the lead contact, but if you're on vacation, they want to be able to call somebody else. And if they're a key client, they want access to your senior leadership as well.
No, and I think that the depth of your team, I think, is one of the things that, and it comes back to that aversion to risk. If you've got a deep team, that figures. The phrase that I love, which I'm sure I may well have told this story before, but I remember chatting to a head of insight a couple of years ago and asking about why he used a particular vendors and what the relationship came from. And he said, he's used this phrase, which I said, I'm going to steal, which he said, that's absolutely fine. But he said, the value is in the gaps between the projects. And I think one of the things that really, really comes home to me again and again is end clients want agencies who are not just order takers for when they've got a brief or when they've got a bit of budget or when they've got something to fix. They want clients, or the clients want agencies and vendors and partners who, to your point, are engaging with them on an ongoing basis, not to try and sell something necessarily, but to have that ongoing conversation and show that you give a damn. You actually care about their business and their agenda and their goals. And I think that's one of the shifts I see where agencies do this really effectively. They stop thinking about themselves as being project managers of research programs. They are client engagement managers and they're managing relationships over the longer term with clients.
And I think to your point, Paul, as you start sharing what you start moving from that vendor to that sort of trusted partner. I was having a conversation with a client a couple of years ago, and this conversation reminded me that I had reached that level, but I had forgotten about it. We were having a conversation about some marketing stuff, and I was telling him, well, you could do this, or you could do that, or you could do this. And he said, Steve, don't tell me what I could do. Tell me what I should do.
Good do.
So your clients, the buyers, are looking for direction and recommendations and ideas. They won't necessarily accept them. That's fine. But as a trusted, and the trust is important here, trusted partner. They are looking to you for those sorts of input. So don't be afraid to give it. And if you're at the point where you're doing that, that's the relationship you want.
Yeah. It's also, of course, moves you into that place where you're talking about the impact of what you can do. And I think as an industry, we are going to continue over with technology and all the stuff that's going on. We need to absolutely focus on the impact we create, not what we do. And that's what end clients are saying to me increasingly. I want my agency partners to be consultants telling me not just what this research says, but tell me what I should do afterwards. And I have an expectation you know enough about my business to do that credibly. Or you fess up to the fact you don't know my business enough credibly, but you can give me advice based on where you've done this in other businesses, how I can embed it and how I can nurture and engage with my stakeholders. And I think that's becoming that this shift from being, again, research technicians to being consultative and being consultants talking about the impact, the value we generate is one of the things I think is going to mark out really successful agencies going forwards.
I'm going to push back just a little bit, and it's not the agency's fault. It's the buyer's fault, at least from what I hear, which is, yes, let's talk about what we're doing. Let's talk about the impact. But in the end, are the buyers telling their agency the real impact? You helped us increase market share by 4%, or we added another $200 million in revenue because of that. My clients' agencies are telling me they're not getting that feedback from the buyers.
And I buy that, but I would hypothesize that some of the time it's because they're not asking the question.
I can't argue with that either, Paul.
And that's the trick. A genuine business consultant asks that question because they're asking it up front at the start of a program because they're going, what are you doing this research for? And I don't mean what are you researching, but what are you going to use this for? And by the end of the project, they're going, right, you said at the start of the project you wanted to do this with this. Are you now going to be able to do this? And then you have a contact engagement program, which means a couple of months or a couple of weeks or however long the cadence is after you finish that program, you're going back into the client and going, you know what? What has been the impact of this? And can I help you make a greater impact on this? What can I do to roll this out to make sure that from your perspective, this feels like a piece of research that has really created commercial value in your organization, your business? Now, you're absolutely right. End clients sometimes don't want to reveal that, but equally, I would challenge agencies to at least ask the question. I don't even think we ask the question most of the time.
I think that's right. And I think the other thing agencies can do is set the expectation up front and say, okay, I'm going to check in with you at 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months after the project, because I want to know that we're having the financial or commercial impact that we wanted from this. And you need to be willing to share that with me. And then that goes back to what we talked about a little while ago. If we can begin to get some of those financial impact, commercial impact numbers from the client, boy, talk about becoming an effective case study.
Yeah. Steve, we are nearly at 20 minutes. So I'm just going to wrap up. I think what we're saying is focus on the impact. Don't go dark. Keep talking to clients and engage with them, but don't necessarily sell how amazing you are. Talk to their needs, their requirements, their issues. And if you have got something smart or new or enticing to talk to them about, don't be shy about telling them about it.
And as part of the impact, make sure you are talking about solving their business issue.
Absolutely.
I love it.
That was excellent. Even though I do say so ourselves.
That's right.
Right. Thank you very much for your time. We've got another episode coming down the track soon. I think we're going to be talking about how you can get and brick wall and support your big ticket recurring research programs, which some of this relates to, I think, to this topic today. But in the meantime, Steve, that has been, as ever, awesome. Season 2 kicked off with style. Thank you so much for your time, and see you again on the next pod.
A pleasure was mine, Paul. Thank you. Great job as always. This is just way too much fun. And we'll see all of you on our next podcast. Thanks so much for joining us.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for watching and listening to Across the Pond. Get in touch with Paul at clientadvocates.co.uk and Steve at harpethmarketing.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.